Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. And I think about the name I came up with in 2013 when I created this series and started making videos. Freemasonry and Satanism. I believe I got it exactly correct. I got it right. The last video I made was on this book, A One World Order is Coming, by Dr. Cathy Burns, and Who Will Rule? So do you believe a one world is coming? Do you see the changes in our reality? For the better or for the worse? I was just inside, and my friend was watching one of those astrologers, many of them on the internet, talking about changes. Pluto moving into Aquarius, and all the things that could happen. The world changing. So the astrologers are talking about it. I've made plenty of book reviews on different books talking about the New World Order, about the secret societies. And of course, one of the important questions is, do these secret societies have a religious belief? Do they have a deity, a god? Do they worship a demon? The leader of the fallen angels? What? Fair question. And I know it's out there for people to think about something like that. I've been reading this book, also by Dr. Cathy Burns. So this will be series 266, part 2. The Masonic Connection. Hidden Secrets of the Eastern Star. Freemasonry for women. Important information included on the Rainbow Girls, Dr. Cathy Burns. So I'm looking at this picture on the cover of the book, and I see the star in the sky with an eye. So the blazing star in these secret societies, they have a blazing star, the light. As a woman holding a paper, a sun and a moon. I see the sun and a moon in a lot of these pictures, and a couple columns, a Freemason symbol. One of the women is holding some children. The other one has her left breast kind of exposed. A checkered floor like in a Freemasonic lodge. So, Freemasonry for women. The Eastern Star. Dr. Cathy Burns. Been reading her material. Made a video on this one, part 1, series 266. A One World Order is Coming. So apparently she's written several books. Hidden Secrets of Masonry. Mormonism. Apparently when Freemasonry had to go underground, when it wasn't favored by the masses of people, they created Mormonism, and a lot of them could just move over into Mormonism and kind of continue with their faith. What is their faith? Masonry and Godhood. So they do talk about God. Alcoholics Anonymous Unmasked. So what's the goings on there? But I have been reading this. Woke up last night about 4 o'clock in the morning like I do once in a while. So I couldn't sleep, so I went back, turned on the light in the office, and continued reading. I said, oh my, I need to talk about this chapter. His star is in the east. His star is in the east. So whose star is in the east? And I am aware from my research that Freemasonry is anti-Christian. I am aware they don't allow the mention of Jesus' name in the lodges. But apparently they have statues to pagan gods. So what's with that? You can't have the Christian God, but you can have Zeus or other pagan gods? That sounds kind of odd. But not really, if you can open your mind and try to see the truth. The odd thing about the whole thing about seeing the truth is, Christians, for example, other good people, tell the truth. Generally speaking. But people who are into Satanism, Luciferianism, and these other pagan religions do not tell the truth. Hence, we have secret societies. And they swear oaths under the threat of death, very horrible death, having their throats cut or their stomachs slit open and their guts spilled on the ground, if they divulge the secrets. So just by the nature that it's secret and they swear under threat of death not to divulge the truth, no, we should understand they're keeping something from us, something serious, something even probably embarrassing, something even detrimental and dangerous to them. If you think about history and you think about the Spanish Inquisition, and throughout history, even in Salem, Massachusetts, and all over Britain, they burned witches to death. So they had to, and who do the witches worship? Wouldn't that be Satan, Lucifer, some kind of demon beings practicing magic, even sacrificing humans to these beings? So what I'm saying is, it's the opposite of Christianity and probably the teachings in other religions like Islamic and other religions. They have their evil forces and their benevolent good forces, and the evil forces deceive. Let's agree on that. They lie. They keep secrets. It's called secret societies. So, once we establish that they're keeping secrets, and they're pretty serious secrets, you have to swear an oath under threat of death. And so you start out knowing they're keeping a huge secret. So what is the secret? And what does it mean when his star is in the east? And I learned something quite interesting. When I read this, think about this. Drive around your neighborhood or go off in the countryside. You ever see those giant barn stars on people's houses? Or on the barn? Giant size 5-pointed star. They call it a barn star. And I believe I figured out what it is. His star is in the east. So if you believe in Christianity or you're Christian, you go into somebody's house, you're likely to see a cross or a statue of Mary or Jesus or something. You're not going to see a barn star. Apparently, that's for Satan. People don't know that. You're driving down the highway. Hey, there's a barn star. There's another barn star. Some neighborhoods have more barn stars than others. So, I uncovered that reading this material. So why don't I read from the book and see if we can shed some light on who is the deity of the Freemasons. And because the daughters and wives of Freemasons felt left out or jealous, and they got angry and hated their husbands being in Freemasonry, the Freemasons came up with the idea of creating Masonry for women, the Eastern Star. And apparently Dr. Cathy Burns has done a serious job, it's a big thick book here, trying to uncover the secrets the deception, the lies, the things they don't want you to know. We have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. The Eastern Star initiates are told that this phrase refers to the Christ in Matthew 2:2. The five-pointed star is often called the Star of Bethlehem. That at the time of the birth of Jesus, a star guided by the Magi to Palestine. Is this really what is meant by this statement? Or is there another more esoteric, secret meaning? This same reference explains. So Dr. Cathy Burns, you referenced a lot of famous Freemason philosophers, writers, and teachers, high-level Freemasons, to get her material. And from what I can see, she's right on the target of what we should know. Aside from this time-honored tradition that at the time of the birth of Jesus, a star guided by the Magi to Palestine, there is a deep ethical and spiritual suggestiveness in this beautiful emblem, which may be profitably considered from more than a single standpoint. So, we can see that there is a spiritual suggestiveness aside from and in addition to the traditional Star of Bethlehem. What then does this star really symbolize? So she's reading one of the Freemason books, and it's explaining about the star in the east. Here's what the Masonic teacher would have said. Aside from the time-honored tradition that at the time of the birth of Jesus, a star guided the Magi to Palestine. So he says, aside of that, we know that story, there is a deep ethical and spiritual suggestiveness in this beautiful emblem that may be profitably considered from more than a single standpoint. So he's saying there's a second standpoint from the reference of this star in the east. This is a Masonic teacher. So he's suggesting, Jesus aside, there's another meaning to the star in the east. Okay. So what then does the star really symbolize? In the Worthy Matron's Handbook, so they had a handbook for these women, Worthy Matrons, is a poem that is revealing, and it reads, and I do realize this is tedious, and you know, you can go get the book and you can analyze it for yourself. When I read this stuff, I read a sentence and I listen to the author, and I have the benefit of, this is series 266, of having almost 700 videos on YouTube and 15 years of research and 6 years of making videos. So I'm not the same person I was when I started. I know more now, so I can kind of pick up on some of this stuff. But let me read this poem that's in the Worthy Matron's Handbook. You all know of the star in the east. So we all know about Jesus' star and the story the wise men told, how it proclaimed to the world a new light, that bright, wondrous star of old. We too have a star to worship. So he's saying to the worthy matrons, the female Masons, we too have a star to worship. It's in their poem. So the Christians have a star that we don't worship the star. We worship Jesus, believe he is the Savior. And if you believe in Jesus, you are saved when you leave this planet. If you do not believe in Jesus, then you're not saved, and you go into the great abyss. And apparently there's a giant gulf. You know what a gulf is? Like the Gulf of Mexico. So imagine in space there's a planet, and maybe it's not a very pleasant planet. The whole thing might be like the Sahara Desert or something. And then there's another planet. Maybe it's like all the green vegetation, beautiful ocean, rivers, and lakes, Earth. And between the two, maybe 25, 30 light years, a great gulf. Well, apparently in the spiritual realm, there's a great gulf between the underworld and the Hades and heaven. And when you go to one, you can't ever get to the other one. Now, that's pretty serious. So we, as Christians, believing what Jesus said, he who believes in me shall be saved, we will go to the heaven world. And this is in the Bible, I mentioned it, the great gulf between these two things. But here in the Eastern Star, Freemasonry for Women, it says, we too, in their poem, have a star to worship, giving hope and light by the way. If we only obey its teachings, practice its precepts each day. So apparently, the Masons, they can wind up in the world they want to go to, if only they will obey the teachings and practice its precepts each day. Of course, Christians, if you believe in Jesus, you're going to go to the heaven world and be saved. So that's in the poem, and she's analyzed that, and you got to think it through. So it says, we too have a star to worship. And I do believe we Christians do not worship the star, a star, any star. We agree in the Bible that apparently the star showed up and it was a prophesied symbol for the coming of the Messiah. And the Magi, the three kings, they saw that, and so they all went to Bethlehem, Israel, Jerusalem, Palestine back then, and we're in the biblical story of Jesus' birth in a manger. Okay, back to the book. Notice that this poem insinuates that the Eastern Star is a different star than the star of the East. It mentions the star of the East and then adds, we too have a star to worship, which makes a differentiation between the two stars. There's a little picture here of, I guess, the Magi seeing the star. Jesus' birth. First of all, the Star of Bethlehem could not have been an Eastern star, since most biblical expositors agree that the Magi came from the East. So the East would be off towards East Russia, Mongolia, China, east of Palestine. So the Magi came from the east, so they would have seen the star, if they were to follow it to find the baby Jesus. The star would have guided the way. The star would have been off towards the west. Like I said, when I was reading this, I'm listening to her explanation and, kind of talking about it with my explanation, because you don't have the book, and that's my reasoning here, and you can get the book. That therefore the star over Judea would be in the western sky from their viewpoint. Some scholars feel that the passage means that the Magi were in the east when they saw the stars. Others say that the term in the east can also be translated alternately as seen when it arose, meaning they saw the star as it rose. The Greek word for east is Anatole, meaning a rising of light, but it can also imply to east. So from a scriptural analysis, we can see that the Eastern Star is not the same star as mentioned in Matthew 2.2. However, we find an even more revealing information in Masonic literature. And remember, Cathy Burns has a degree in religious studies. And apparently she spent a lot of years researching this stuff to have written so many books. It is justifiable to research Masonic literature by the meaning of symbols, since one Eastern Star book by Mary Ann Slipper explains, Masonry, the oldest of all secret orders, again, why is it secret, which have survived the passing of the years, employs a most elaborate system of symbols in ritualistic work. So what is ritualistic work? So they have to perform rituals. Several of the same symbols have been borrowed for use in the Order of the Eastern Star. The figure of the symbol slightly changed, but the idea associated with the symbol kept intact. So the Eastern Star, they also call it the blazing star, if you read any books on Masonry. With that in mind, let's proceed. The Masonic Service Association, an organization that supplies lodges with brief lectures for lodge meetings, publishes the Short Talk Bulletin, which is called one of Masonry's most outstanding regular publications. Turning to the outline section of the Short Talk Bulletin, entitled Blazing Star, we find not the Star of Bethlehem. This outline also lists the blazing star as a hex star, a hex, and a symbol of deity. So what's a hex? Now the Bethlehem star announced the birth of Jesus Christ, but if the blazing star, the star used in both Masonry and the Eastern Star, is a hex sign and the symbol of deity, but it is not the Star of Bethlehem, who and what does this star represent? In other words, the star is a symbol of a deity, and the symbol is a hex. So, I think I'll go on Yahoo image site and try to see what the Masonic hex symbol looks like. Alright, so I went on Yahoo image site, and I put on Masonic hex star, and it was kind of interesting. Upside down star is usually the star for Satan, but that's not a hex star. But these pictures do tell us a lot of details here. This guy's holding, this Freemason is holding with the upside down star with his hand like a skeleton. This is the six-pointed star, as above, so below. So it looks like to me, if I had to guess, from my experience in researching. Now there's a six-pointed hex star. That's on the Israeli flag. So maybe this will also tell us who their deity is. And one's the shape of the Pentagon, the military base in the United States. So I didn't quite get the results I wanted, so I looked up occult hexagon star, and bingo, I got it. The six-pointed star, apparently the star that represents Moloch and represents Raphaim, the fallen angel, and is on the Israeli flag. And apparently, if you have the four-dimensional, three-dimensional, two full pyramids meshed together, inverted, so it's a multi-pointed object, six-pointed star, but three-dimensional instead of two-dimensional. You have something in the occult called the Merkabah, some kind of device where you can travel to another dimension. And I'm theorizing now about this. You see the six-pointed star, and the symbol also for the Merkabah in the material I've been going over, where they have it in three dimensions, like in the center of this video. And here you have a picture, looks like rays of light. So what it tells me, that it is part of the occult, Kabbalah, alchemy, witchcraft, secret societies, teaching, Merkabah, fallen angel, opening portals to another dimension. So the symbol mentioned in this book for the Eastern Star organization, the Masonry for women, the hex sign is a symbol for the deity. And from my research, I've showed in previous videos, that would be the demon god Moloch, represented either as a bull or an owl. And even in the Bohemian Grove, where our politicians and many famous people have been photographed, they throw a baby into a fire at the bottom of a giant owl, Moloch, called the cremation of care. Alex Jones snuck in there and took a video. You can go look it up and watch it. It's like some kind of witch's ritual. And then you have a little tiny owl perched on the front of one of the ones on the dollar bill. And then, of course, the other material I've gone over, Washington, D.C. street design is in the shape of an owl. In the Sandy Hook school shooting, one of the reporters held up a picture of the owl. And they wear these little pins on their shirts of an owl. So it's becoming clearer and clearer to me that these people are into either Satan, Moloch, Baal, B-A-A-L, deities, not the heavenly God, Jesus, or the Holy Ghost deities. So I just went the extra mile to try to get my mind straight on this, because this is a pretty serious conversation. If people could wake up to what these secret societies, obviously keeping something from us, lying, deceiving us, leading us on, and letting us believe that they believe in Jesus and Christianity. Meanwhile, the Zionist, Communist, Illuminati, Masonic organizations, and other secret societies are completely anti-Christian and do not believe that Jesus was the Messiah who had come from the spiritual world, the heavenly world, to teach us that we are to love one another. Now, if you were God and this other dimension, the higher realm where souls come from, and you were looking at the earth and the people killing each other, robbing each other, and all kinds of other nasty things, and the world was in a turmoil, and the people were praying for a Messiah, wouldn't you send a Messiah who would teach them that they should love one another, not kill one another? So there's a little outline for the short talk, apparently, in the Masonic Short Talk Bulletin. It says here, introduction, and it has, it's not the Star of Bethlehem. It is a hex sign. It is a symbol for prudence. It is a symbol for deity. So what deity is also recognized as a symbol of prudence? It is a pentapah, the triple triangle. That would be on the Israeli flag. The Merkabah, regeneration, a mystic number, and a regenerative nature of the star, and geometry. So there's a lot of clues if you think about it. So next page in this book, page 48. But since the deity represented by this star is not the same star that announced the birth of Christ, this star is a representation of some other deity. And Dr. Cathy Burns says, let's look at another Masonic source as we continue to investigate this star. Albert Mackey admits the blazing star is said by Wren, W-R-E-N, to be commemorative of the star which appeared to guide the wise men of the East to the place of our Savior's nativity. So if Jesus really didn't exist, and that's something they're teaching the masses of people, People, if you talk about it, they'll go, get with the program. That was all faked and created so that the powers that be could control the people. Then why in all these famous books by the Masons do they just assume that Jesus was real and tell the stories, when they also say in their teachings that Masonry goes back 3,000 years to the days of King Solomon? If Jesus didn't exist, it wouldn't be in all of their books. They would be a party to the New Age teachings and the new lies being told around the world. What was that saying that the Germans were using? If you tell a big lie and you tell it long enough, everybody will believe it. I think that was Göring who said that in the Hitler regime. So they are telling some huge lies right now, and they're telling them again and again and again and again and again, and people are throwing up their arms and buying the lies because they just don't want to continue the argument. They got better things to do. Meanwhile, progress is moving forward towards a global world order, and once they gain full control, believe me, people will not have the luxuries and the life they have now. There will be an austerity program like people can't believe. Everything will be rationed, and people will be living like in the Hunger Games movies or in major cities and programs like Divergent, the movie, Mad Max, and who knows what else. And they want chaos and anarchy. That is what they want. Jesus came to earth to teach love one another, not chaos and anarchy. So back to the book. So this, which is one of the ancient interpretations of the symbol, being considered as too sectarian in its character and unsuitable to the universal religion of Masonry, has been omitted since the meeting at the Grand Lecturers at Baltimore in 1842. So apparently they had a grand meeting of the Masonic lodges in 1842, 150-something years ago, and they were banning the Savior's nativity and any kind of connection with it. They were denying Jesus. They didn't want any of that mentioned in their lodges. Since Rob Morris, the founder of the Eastern Star, was a very knowledgeable Mason, and since he was made a Mason 4 years after the Baltimore meeting, he should have been, and most likely was, aware that the blazing star, or the star in the east, did not represent the star that guided the wise men to the place where Christ was. As can be seen from the above quotation, the idea of the star representing Christ's birth was considered all too sectarian. And so this explanation was omitted in 1842. The Eastern Star was not founded until 1850. So the name for the women's Masonic organization, Eastern Star, is talking about another star, and in one of their teaching charts, it says the stars, the deity is also known as Prudence. So here it says Prudence is a serpent. Masonic author George Oliver claims that the blazing star is an emblem of that prudence which ought to appear conspicuous in the conduct of every Mason. But it is more especially commemorative of that star which appeared in the east, to guide the wise men to Bethlehem, to proclaim the birth and the presence of the Son of God. He adds that the great architect of the universe is therefore symbolized in Freemasonry by the blazing star as the herald of our salvation. So their blazing star, their deity, also recognized as the six-pointed star on the Israeli flag, is the herald of our salvation. That sounds okay, doesn't it? The blazing star is an emblem of prudence and the herald of our salvation, says Oliver and other Masons. Later, however, Oliver explains to us what prudence was. Checking my time on my clock on my laptop. Prudence was the third emanation of the Basilidine deity, Basilidine Abrax, Abrax, and it was denominated on account of its value and importance to man in a state of probation, the Logos or the Word. Francisco Rabbi Dumas mentions that the god of prudence in Egypt is the serpent. So in Egypt was hieroglyphics and the tablets they read. The god of prudence in Egypt is the serpent. So here we go with the Bible, mentioning the serpent numerous times as the synagogue of Satan. In the Short Talk Bulletin we find, in some Masonic rituals of the 18th century, the blazing star was regarded as a symbol of prudence. Some writers have seen in this interpretation a persistence of ideas from the dawn of recorded history to the present. The ancient Egyptians worshipped as one of their gods the dog star. The star was given credit for such salvation and thus became a symbol of prudence. Eliphas Levi, a famous Jewish occult writer, alleges that the astral light was represented by the Gnostics as a burning body of the Holy Ghost, and this which was adored in the secret rites of the Sabbath or the temple under the symbolic figure of Baphomet or of the androgynous goat or Mendes. So they have a secret society. They have a deity. They have these symbols, 6-pointed star, 5-pointed star. They mention the dog star. They mention the temple. They want to rebuild King Solomon's temple right now. And this symbolic figure of Baphomet. And they did put a statue of this Baphomet with the horns in Oklahoma City in front of the state building because the state building had the 10 Commandments on display. So they were competing with it with their religion. So there's another answer to the puzzle. The 10 Commandments was at the state building in Oklahoma. The religion that's the opposite of Christianity and any other religions that believes in the commandments put the statue of Baphomet, the devil, so that people would have a choice to which religion they wanted to believe in. Clear enough? So you can go to a Christian church, supposedly you can find one that the evil forces don't control, or you can go to a secret society, but you're going to be picking two different deities. Heaven or Hades, the underworld, from the way I see it. Welcome to another short video from the Yahoo image site. Thought I'd just look at this little statue they put up in Detroit of Baphomet. So there are forces promoting this religion. Satan statue debuts in Detroit planned tour for Arkansas. So they rejected it in Oklahoma, so it went to Detroit. And then apparently they're going to take it to Arkansas because there's a federal building there with the 10 Commandments. And clearly, if you look at the feet of this character, it's a hoofed foot, serpents, snakes on his belly, horns on his head, an eternal flame in the middle, as above his hand, and the other one is as below. And apparently, this Satan statue, the Satan being, is adored by children. He's into children. Five-pointed upside-down star by his head, Definitely satanic witchcraft. So you can go on Yahoo image site. Oh my. See the people that are into this? Can you see a revolution in America and the world between good and evil? So somebody's identifying a lot of the occult symbolism, the map for the UN. Witchcraft. Unveiling the statue of Satan. So I guess Satan would be under this canvas. This guy's holding this candle. Very satanic. Satanic Church unveils Baphomet statue in Detroit. So I understand that people don't want to recognize this as evil. An upside down cross. They think it's all funny. When it's anything but funny. Front of the state building. So what do you think? Are you thinking? Is this okay with you? Prayer rally and protest against the Church of Satan. So again, people may not want to admit it's true. But these people are serious and they're popular. What's it all going to come down to? The devil in the White House. The devil in Detroit. Look at all these people in line to see the statue. Look at this guy's head here with the devil head on him. And skull and bones on this guy's shirt. It looks like a freak show. But you see these freak shows more often everywhere. And you suppose these people would like it? When somebody says you look like a freak, can you see a revolution between good and evil? Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. How can you coexist with this stuff? Seriously. TV programming, magazines, secret societies. People looking a little bit bizarre. Knowledge is the greatest gift. Here's this hand coming up holding a serpent, it looks like. Creepy place. Look at this upside down star. Just saying. Are you for this or against this? There is no middle ground. Ignoring it is obviously not going to make it go away. Do you think? You think? After School with Satan Club. You want your child to go to this After School with Satan Club? I don't think so. Thanks for watching this short clip. Rick Miracle reporting. Well, as you could see from that Yahoo image clip, the symbolism is everywhere. And a lot of people are behind this New Age satanic cults, religions, and are anti-Christian and apparently anti-Islamic and anti-family values and anti-normalcy. Just a short, funny, a couple years ago, I mentioned this in previous videos. I went to get a haircut. And generally I go to regular hair salons, not barbershops. So anyways, I go into a local hair salon, and how much is a haircut? And this guy is going to cut my hair, and he goes, how would you like it cut? And I said, just a normal haircut. And he screamed, there's no such thing as normal. And he freaked me out that I got up out of the chair and left that salon. I went to another salon and I told them the story. And they said that he was a gay man and he had a lot of problems with lots of people. And he had to leave different jobs. So again, we're up against some pretty strange things in this world, and it does look like things are accelerating, and apparently even in Hollywood, in the alternative to Hollywood, independent filmmakers. I went on the vigilantcitizen.com, and just was browsing around, and I found this one page. I said, oh my, this thing about child sacrifice, human sacrifice, pedophilia, and all of this is really gone crazy in our society. Take a look at this clip where I review vigilantcitizen.com. And I encourage people to go to websites like this and take a look and use your discerning mind. The problem is people see this stuff and they dismiss it while these people are organized, putting up statues of the devil out there and other symbols everywhere, and even movies and TV programs that are just too gruesome for me to watch. And I was at a little barbecue the other day, and this one lady who was dressed a little unusual, she said she loves that stuff. She can't get enough of watching those horror, demon, evil shows. She said she laughs all the way through the whole show. It does make one think, what the heck is going on? See this clip. Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle about a website review. I mention a lot the satanic symbolisms we see everywhere. Should we just think it's amusing? Should we take it serious? And if you align that with biblical prophecy, it gets a little more concerning. So this website here, vigilantcitizen.com, I check it periodically. And oh my, I can't believe what's going on in the world. I make these videos so I can investigate books, press releases, websites, videos, whatever, so I can try to figure out WTH, what the heck is going on. So this particular page at vigilancecitizen.com starts with the Independent Spirit Awards began with witches sacrificing a virgin in a black magic ritual. So apparently the Independent Spirit Awards is given to people who have a beginning career or independent career in filmmaking versus Hollywood. So it's Hollywood, maybe wannabes, new people. So they're opening their awards ceremony. We've all seen Emmys and Grammys and Super Bowl halftime shows and American Idol and Eurovision, like over in Europe for American Idol. So what are they going to do? Why are they doing this little video skit about sacrificing a virgin? And why do they have all these themes almost everywhere we look in our society today? The cold open of the Independent Spirit Awards features Aubrey Plaza and a coven of witches sacrificing a teenage boy for the movie industry. Every creepy detail of this comedy short reflects the true dark side of Hollywood. So what's that old saying? Hide things in plain sight. A lot of accusations that these things are going on in Hollywood. I've got numerous books on that, many of insiders. You can go on YouTube and watch videos. People into witchcraft or the Illuminati, etc. We've seen the TV programming, even the TV program Lucifer. The Independent Spirit Awards is the premier awards event for the independent film community. While it is theoretically an alternate to the Hollywood mainstream, the event is nevertheless attended by a whole lot of Hollywood mainstream people. In fact, its red carpet event was a typical parade of Hollywood stars wearing designer clothes. The event's proximity to Hollywood is not only figurative, it is literal. It took place in Santa Monica, which is a short drive from Hollywood. In a nutshell, the whole Independent Films Awards thing is basically another tentacle of the giant octopus that is the entertainment industry. So the people bringing us the Rainbow Coalition, gay marriage, transgenderism, the New Age, and behind the scenes planning on globalism, again, fulfillment of biblical prophecies. The same people are at the top, and the same agenda flows through it. So we know what the agenda is. All this New Age philosophy, social conditioning, deception, propaganda. And the cold open of the Independent Spirits Awards couldn't exemplify this fact in a more striking manner. One, you born with special gifts. That's kind of funky English. You born with special gifts. Magic IQ test reveals all. Although it is meant to be a silly comedy skit, the cold open managed to sum up Hollywood's disgusting underbelly in 4 minutes. Here's the description of the video on YouTube. Host Aubrey Plaza and her coven kick off the 2019 Film Independent Spirit Awards the only way possible: ancient rituals and virgin sacrifice. The Cold Open, the name of the skit. The video begins with Aubrey Plaza's coven entering a cave. Looks like some familiar stars here. Marcia Gay Harden, Rosanna Arquette, Christina Ricci, and Marcia Tomei. Not quite sure I'm pronouncing those names correctly. Plaza tells her sisters gather on the unholiest of afternoons to conjure the film independent spirit. She adds, through this ancient ritual, we shall reject commercial cinema and pledge our souls to the pursuit of dangerous art. So apparently this actor showed up. Brian Tyree Henry pops up, and he says, what the F, Aubrey? You said it was going to be a party, not some effed up white girl stuff. Aubrey replies, I'm sorry you showed up early, okay? I'm doing my black magic ceremony to banish silly sequels and lazy robots. Strangely enough, then Henry reminds Plaza that they both just did a new chunky movie together. The joke is that the movie is basically a lazy robot. Speaking of which, let's take a look at the official poster for Aubrey's Plaza's coming up movie, Child's Play. So there's some people who get into these kinds of movies. Then Plaza calls for the virgin sacrifice. Sharon Stone pops out of nowhere with the virgin. Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, Sharon says, I told him I was giving him a ride to GameStop. LOL. Preying on minors is amazeballs. There's a new word for me there, amazeballs. So you got this guy dressed up like Little Bo Peep. Says here, in past articles, sadly, predicted that the child stars of Stranger Things would end up in some Stranger Things. Him playing the role of the virgin sacrifice for a bunch of Hollywood witches is one of them. As Plaza prepares to stab Wolfhard, he yells that he is not a virgin, that all women love him, and he is a four-quadrant cutie. The whole discussion about the sex life of a 16-year-old boy is rather weird. You think? Sharon Stone then says she can get another virgin. How come Sharon Stone has access to so many virgins? Does she have a source for Hollywood virgins? This is all rather creepy. Remember Pizzagate during the last presidential elections? This thing about child sex and child pedophilia is getting crazy out there. Apparently California just passed laws that they're going to be teaching children in first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, etc. explicit sex information. Do you really want your first or second grader being taught this stuff? Continuing with this website review. This is all rather creepy, especially considering the actual child exploitation rings that exist in Hollywood involving high-level directors and movie stars. Then Plaza grabs a pair of scissors and violently stabs Wolfhard about 10 times as the witches laugh. Plaza yells, "Spirit, come to me." Oh my. It says, make me your H-O-S-T. I don't want to say these things. Plaza's face becomes all bloody as she's possessed by the spirit. Then with the voice of some kind of demon, Plaza screams, "Let the Independent Spirit Awards begin, LOL. That was amazeballs." There's that word again. So in conclusion, this movie award ceremony began with a coven of powerful witches performing a blood sacrifice in the name of the industry, not unlike the Netflix series Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. The skit portrays the witches' coven as a cool sisterhood that draws power from the black magic. So you think people get sucked into this stuff, especially young people? The skit then trivializes the fact that the Hollywood elite actually preys on youth, abuses them, and even sacrifices them. Oh my. Here's a question. Would this skit be deemed funny if 5 middle-aged men were sacrificing a 16-year-old girl and that one man said, "I can get another virgin"? Probably not. In short, this 4-minute comedy skit managed to sum up Hollywood's toxic agenda, mental sickness, and deep hypocrisy. Says here, if you appreciate this article, please consider showing your support through a small money donation on Patreon. If you prefer, you can also make a one-time donation here. Thank you. The Village and Citizen website. So I was looking down here, seeing some other crazy stuff here. Need to go look at this one here. Taylor Swift, Queen of the 2018 American Music Awards. And you got a giant cobra snake. You see these satanic symbols everywhere. Here's another one here in the center of this video. Co-founder of Tween. I have never seen Tween on YouTube. I guess it's for little kids. Tween. Channel arrested for molesting a minor. Wow. He creates a tween YouTube channel and he's arrested for molesting a minor. And this one over here, YouTube is still enabling the sexualization of children and it's being monetized. They don't allow any of my videos to be monetized, but I guess if you do semi-child sexualization, you can be monetized. So much for YouTube's priorities. Demonetize me and monetize that. Here's another one. Royal Ritual. Watch Freemasons boast about their influence. I definitely have to go look at that link and see what that page looks like. Here's another one. Mushroom Land. The mysterious story behind a creepy YouTube channel. So we do have some pretty mentally ill people out there, it appears. So I have some comments here you can go look at. Asher says, let's take a moment to reflect that the mainstream culture has now become so desensitized, so drenched with this filth, that they are now openly and unashamedly streaming this kind of crap. Not so long ago, this would have been gross and shocking. Even closer to our time, it would have at least been considered off the wall, inappropriate for this sort of event and showing. Now it's comedy. All over the course of a few short decades, it's speeding up. The rate at which the content becomes darker and darker and unabashedly crude and objectively evil is spreading up in rate and intensity. Where will we be in just another 5 years at this rate? Unless, I hope, something happens to bring it all down first. Amen to that. Here's another one. Karen says, who thinks this kind of thing is funny? It's sick, not funny. The people that think that Saturday Night Live is funny when it is the left-wing propaganda. Just reading some of these comments here. By the way, Wikipedia calls VC, Village and Citizen, a fake news site and uses Snoop's Washington Post, Huffington Post, as the authority of judgment. The MSN is trying to destroy anything that is good and true. I will never donate another penny to Wikipedia. You are right. I have also experienced many weird things from Kyle for writing for Wikipedia. It's seriously a tool for propaganda. Sadly, people regard it as authoritative. Well, personally, I've found a lot of valuable information on Wikipedia. I haven't seen to my own satisfaction that it is a propaganda site. Anyone can edit Wikipedia pages. it's not all their fault. Well, I do believe that the people who write the pages on Wikipedia try to write it to taint it in their favor. But even the books I read, that's the case, or press releases. But usually I can find valuable information, even what they admit, and I can see through what they hide because I've been doing so much research. All right, so back down to these comments. Don says, maybe a better name would be the Spirit Cooking Awards with host Hillary Rodham Clinton. Like I said, this pedophilia, spirit cooking, witchcraft activities. Larry Nichols used to speak on Alex Jones' website, and he was the handlers for the Clintons. And he says that Hillary would go to Las Vegas to attend witchcraft coven events. Wouldn't surprise me. It's good that the abuse of boys by gay pedophilia priests is being reported. But notice that the media never reports the Hollywood or political pedophilias, or much on the abuse done by the nuns. Victims of abuse by nuns are struggling to be recognized too. Hate to break it to you, says Devo. Sue, but those priests are most likely not gay, just pedophilias. Not all pedos are gay. How do you know that they are most likely not gay? What difference does it make? This person, Don, says they need to slow roast in hell either way. More talk on that. Going down here. So a lot of people think that this homosexual pedophilia activity going on in the world these days is wrong. I think it's wrong. And apparently they don't want you to say that in public. They'll call it hate speech. So you can go read these comments. Erica says, washed up actress Sharon Stone has not been around for some time, and this is where she pops up, desperate and sad. But it's business as usual for the sick industry. Witchcraft, sexual undertones, pedophilia, blood and spirit possession. And I got to tell you, I went on Hula. I don't have regular cable TV. I have Netflix and Hula, YouTube, stuff like that. And I can't watch many of the movies that they're showing on Hula because within 2 or 3 minutes, it's all basic, just blatant sex. And I didn't want to watch porn. I wanted to watch a movie. So the sexual undertones are definitely there if you pay attention to this stuff. But people are becoming desensitized. And I think that's part of this social conditioning of the public. And to try to change our whole reality, bringing us into something like a Twilight Zone series of reality. Something sinister and sick. They think it's funny because they are all in the know. We are the ones that should be asking what all this is and means. And I've been doing my research in my series, Freemasonry and Satanism, and the attempts to destroy Christianity and media and the New World Order. Why are people still watching? If nobody buys into this, then they have no fans to support them. Sounds simple to me. As I recall, Gothamite says she had a recurring role in American Horror Story, another example of this kind of depraved content. Sunshine says, I read a recap of an episode of American Horror Story, It was probably the most vile filth I have ever read, and I can't imagine how awful it is to actually see it on the screen. American Horror Story. I don't think I want to go watch that. Why would anyone watch that type of thing? And the new Sabrina, basically all the garbage on TV. Why? What does it do for people? What is enjoyable about it? And that's the big divide in our society these days. And they're talking about a revolution in America. And apparently it'll be between the two people, normalized, decent, even Christian citizens against the Satanist, depraved, mentally ill citizens. It looks like that's what's going on. Jimbo Jones watched the YouTube video. That was truly sickening, even worse. It was supposed to be funny? Can I leave this planet now? You see what I mean? There is a divide. You can go drive in your city streets and the bridges with the graffiti, the railroad cars, the semi-tractor trailers, and the big paintings on the walls of buildings in the industrial area. And you can see with your eyes the social conditioning. It does have an effect. Landshire Unicorn says, "What in the actual hell? I have quite the funny bone, and this atrocity is nowhere close to even silent, Chucky funny." So people didn't think it was funny. Don also noticed the racist comment against white people, which the elite and MSN encourage now. So apparently there is a attack on white people these days. Captain Jerry, what's the deal with that? I've noticed that all over the place lately. It's totally okay to be racist against white people now, and always throwing the white privilege comments everywhere. The Unveiling says, every time I hear about this white privilege, I wonder where it is. I'm white. Some of my friends and family are white. I have a black stepfather, mulatto sisters. Most of us are scraping by paycheck to paycheck. We would like to cash in on some of this privilege we hear we are entitled to. Do I need to demand to speak to somebody's manager? So it's interesting when you go check out different websites like this one here, Village and Citizen, and read the comments. Here's one. DDD says, like you know, well, when Madonna calls out for all to rebel. So Madonna, the leader of this freak show, will call on all the other freaks to rebel against the normal citizens with family values throughout the country. Anna says, according to Wolf, who was sacrificed in that video, he looks like a girl and says all women love him as a sex object. And Devo says it's called a virginal white robe. See Truth. The fact that most people can't discern this is truly disturbing. And I have to say that's true, that most people can't see this stuff for what it is. But we have been bombarded with it, and people just want to be left alone and say, I don't care. Nobody wants to step up. Over here to the right, and I'll finish this clip, Eurovision, that would be the American Idol version in Europe, 2019, final and the occult meaning of Madonna's controversial performance. Madonna performing at the Eurovision, an occult meaning? Well, who would have thunk of that? Something is terribly wrong with the Prepper Pics Instagram account. Oh my, that looks kind of weird. Over here to the right, Netflix series, 13 Reasons Why Linked to a Spike in Suicide Rates. Village and Citizen. Just an example of stuff that people can go look at and use a discerning mind and ask yourself, why are they doing this? As you can see, a lot of people do not think it's funny. It's too much if you ask me. Thank you for watching this clip. Rick Miracle reporting. All right, back to the book. Hidden Secrets of the Eastern Star. Freemasonry for Women. What's behind the symbols? I've been reading from the book and showing a couple clips. So it says on the bottom of the page where I left off, the ambient and all-penetrating fluid, this ray detached from the sun's splendor and fixed by the weight of the atmosphere and the power of central attraction, this body of the Holy Ghost, which we call the astral light, and the universal agent, this electromagnetic ether, this vital and luminous caloric, is represented on ancient monuments by the girdle of Isis, which twains in a love knot round two poles, by the bull-headed serpent, and by the serpent with the head of a goat or a dog. That would be in the Egyptian hieroglyphics. In the ancient Thegonis, and by the serpent devouring its tail, the emblem of prudence and of Saturn. It is the winged dragon of Mendea, the double serpent of the Caduceus, and the tempter of Genesis. The tempter of Genesis. So the tempter in Genesis would have been Adam and Eve in the garden, and the serpent tempting Adam and Eve to eat of the tree of knowledge, the apple, that God told them not to eat of, for then they shall surely die. So this being that they worship is the tempter of Genesis. So they're admitting who their deity is, the tempter in Genesis. But it is also the brazen snake of Moses, encircling the Tau. That would be the T with the circle on top. The T means divine. The circle on top, of course, is the serpent, the divine serpent. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes or a genius to figure this stuff out. That is the generative lingram. It is the Hyel of Gnostics, and the double tail which forms the legs of the solar cock of Abraxas. Lastly, it is the devil of the exoteric dogmatism. So they do have a picture here of the 28th degree in Freemasonry, the night of the sun, and notice that this man is looking down seemingly like into a pool of water, seeing his reflection, apparently indicating the as above so below. But also notice it forms the six-pointed star, which is supposed to represent Moloch or the fallen angel Rephaim, and also on the Israeli flag, and a popular symbol in the Kabbalah, which many Kabbalists throughout history, according to the Encyclopedia Judaica published in Israel, 1973 edition. I made videos on that. And historically, the religion of many Jewish peoples were Kabbalah, and many of the Kabbalists became magicians, and many of the Kabbalist magicians were accused of sorcery or witchcraft. The serpent is the ring around the head, the six-pointed star, the as above, so below. So it does take time to figure this stuff out. It says here under this picture, the 28th degree night of the sun. We find another example in the lecture of the rose cross degree. So you can connect the Freemasons with the Rosicrucians, the Rose Cross. Strangely enough, in Georgia, USA, the Guidestones, which call for a world population of 500 million, so I guess about 6 billion have to die, and some other crazy things on those stones. But the plaque says RC Christian, so apparently the anonymous party that put that there were the Rosicrucians, affiliated with the Freemasonry, and apparently the women's organization for Freemasonry, the hidden secret of the Eastern Star, Freemasonry for women. The serpent the Phoenicians deemed to be immortal, becoming young by entering into and consuming himself. Hence the serpent in the circle holding his tail in his mouth was an emblem of eternity. And further in the lecture of this degree, there is a life principle of the world, a universal agent wherein are two natures in double current of love and wrath. It is a ray detached from the glory of the sun. It is the body of the Holy Spirit in universal agent, a serpent devouring his own tail. So you can get this book, big thick book, and you come to your own conclusions, but apparently it seems to indicate the deity of these secret societies, and apparently the religion of the future, as in biblical prophecy, the coming of an Antichrist. And apparently Israel is slated to be the controllers of the world, with Jerusalem recently being recognized as the capital of Israel by President Donald Trump. So we can see all this is tied together, and all the actions in the Middle East, and all the actions all over the world. And today I did take a video, the continued dumping of chemicals, and maybe biologicals or radioactive materials, into our sky, creating some very unusual weather and heat here in the mountains of North Carolina. Just saying, I think we're under attack. I kind of know we're under attack. And even the microwave transmitters and so much more. Apparently by 2020, your regular driver's license, state issued, will have to have a federal endorsement. And they warn you that these days when you go get your driver's license, do you want the federal endorsement now? But they have mandated it to be mandatory, I think around 2020. Just saying, this global world order seems to be coming, and it does have this religion. Okay, this next paragraph I'm going to read, page 51, in the chapter called His Star in the East. The religion for, or I should say Freemasonry for women, the Eastern Star. So it's represented by the dog star representative, as it says there. Aha! That's what it says here. Aha! All of a sudden, the meaning is not what we thought it was. It is. The symbol of the blazing star actually represents the dog star. That would be Sirius B, I believe. In just a moment, we will cover the dog star in greater detail. But for now, to find out more of what Oliver means, we need to know who Abrax was. Abrax, Abracas, Abraxax, Abraxis, Abraxos was the name of the Gnostic god, the protective serpent, the symbol of the sun. So now you know why on a lot of corporate logos is a symbol of the sun. Even on Obama's presidential logo was a sun rising over the stripes, the American flag. So we can see that the serpent is going to be the deity, and probably is the deity, of many Americans today. And they need to destroy Christianity and probably the Islamic people's religions and other religions all over the world. I mean, we certainly can see what they have done to India, the Hindus, and the Chinese, the Buddhists. When the communists invaded China, millions, untold millions of Chinese were killed. The word engraved on a gem or a stone is considered by occultists to constitute a very potent charm. So you see, when you put these words or symbols on things, they have effect and apparently attract some kind of other entities. So you can see where every town, every corner has a tattoo shop. And people are getting all these symbols all over their bodies. They know not what they do. They're attracting maybe some kind of energies or beings, entities. And abraxas comes from the word abracadabra. Here you go. In a dictionary of symbols, we find this about the word abracadabra. This magic word has also been related to abraxas, in the Gnostics. It is in reality one of the names of the sun god Mithras. That would have been the ancient god of the Romans. According to the Masonic quiz book, it formerly was worn on an amulet against certain diseases, at sometimes a form of an incantation. So you talk about incantations, with even Stephen Greer of the Serious Disclosure Project. Sends me emails every now and then when they're having these events. But groups of people go to beaches and parks all over the world, and they do incantations, invocations, and apparently some kind of beings do appear. Stephen Greer's Serious UFO Alien Disclosure Project. Maybe you've heard of that. Go look up some of his videos and subscribe to his website. Maybe you'll get the invitations to these events. You have to pay to participate. But they do these invocations, abracadabra, hocus pocus, and some kind of beings apparently do appear. Makes you wonder about the UFO and alien conversation. Albert Pike, probably the most well-known and respected Masonic authority of all time, declares the following about the blazing star. To make it commemorative of the star that is said to have guided the Magi is to give it a meaning comparatively modern. So again, when Jesus was being born, apparently a star was seen in the sky as a prophesied symbol for the born of the Messiah, the Savior. And the three kings off to the east saw the star, apparently in the west, and went there, and we know the story in the Bible of the three kings and the baby Jesus in the manger. More to that story is a little more interesting, is whenever kings visit another kingdom, they're supposed to go pay a visit to the king of that kingdom they're visiting. So after they went to where baby Jesus was born, they paid a visit to King Hiram, kingdom of Judea back then, 2,000 years ago. And of course, King Hiram says, "What brings you to my kingdom?" And they said, "We're here, a savior, a king is born." And King Hiram didn't like that idea at all in his kingdom, that a king was born, a savior was born, Jesus. So he ordered all the firstborn up to 2-year-old boys all killed in his kingdom. Biblical stories. Did you know that? Originally, it represented Sirius, the dog star, the forerunner of the inundation of the Nile, the god Anubis, companion of Isis in her search for the body of Osiris, and her brother, who was also her husband. Then it became the image of Horus, the son of Osiris himself, symbolized also by the sun and by the all-seeing eye on the back of the dollar bill, which has the sun behind it. The author of the seasons and god of time, son of Isis, who was the universal nature, himself a primitive matter, inexhaustible source of life, spark of the uncreated fire, universal seed of all beings. It was Hermes, also the master of learning, whose name in Greek is that of the god Mercury. It became the sacred and potent sign of character of the Magi, the Pentacopal. the pentapal, and it is the significant emblem of liberty and freedom, blazing with a steady radiance amid the weltering elements of good, an eye of revolutions, evil of revolutions, promising some skies and fertile seasons to the nations after the storms of change and tumult, chaos and anarchy. So their symbol is the pentapal. I did show that earlier, but apparently it is this symbol here. The symbol for Satan on the statue of Baphomet is also the upside-down five-pointed star, which Freemasonry uses, and talked about in the Eastern Star Organization, Freemasonry for Women. So you can go look this stuff up and verify it for yourself. And on Yahoo Image Site, if you click the link associated with each picture, you'll see where the picture came from, and you can do your research. But again, when you read that stuff, even the Joy of Satan website, it'll tell you that Satan is the good guy and Jesus and God are the evil forces. So you need to use a discerning mind, not just believe what you read. So it appears the Kabbalist, secret societies, Zionist, Illuminati, cults have taken control of the world. So it seems, operating out of Hollywood, and organizations bringing us statues of the devil, symbols and bridge openings and tunnel openings and Emmys and Grammys and Super Bowl halftime shows, TV programming, movies, magazines, brand new tattoo parlors continuing to open up on every corner, graffiti everywhere. Oh my! At this rate, what's it going to be like in the near future? Quite bizarre, I imagine. Alright, continuing with the book here. Pike is saying that the idea of the blazing star, guided by the Magi, is only a comparatively modern meaning, but that the originally this star represented Sirius. This is some admission, especially once you realize what Sirius implies. Pike explains that the blazing star in our lodges represents Sirius, Anubis, Mercury, guardian, guide of souls. Our ancient English brethren also considered it as an emblem of the sun. Some other names of this so-called Star of Bethlehem then are the blazing star, dog star, Sirius, Anubis, Mercury. Pike also calls this dog star Horus, the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill, Sothis. Other sources list this star as the star of Isis, star in the east, star of the Annunciation, Canis Major, Sethor, star of the white spirits, star of Isis, Sothis, star of Hathor, star of Horus, Nile star, morning star, Cancula, Sothis, Thos, star of Set, star of Nut, Thought, Thor, Thout, Escapus, Hep, Tuhat, Sirius, Cenotos, Rabula, Hannabelch, Lucifer, and Set. So even with Jane Roberts, the famous channeler who has all those books, I made some videos on her books, I'll be looking at them again. She communicates with a being called Seth, which is mentioned here. So it makes you wonder, these people who are channeling material, what kind of entities are these entities that are teaching humanity to do as thou wilt? whatever you want, and that Christianity is no longer needed, outdated. Checking these and other designations for the dog star provides some astonishing information. For instance, one of the names of the dog star is Sirius. And of course, Stephen Greer in the Sirius Disclosure Project, where he gets groups of people to go to beaches and parks, do invocations, incantations, mantras, and these beings appear. Makes you wonder why they put up the portal for Baal, B-A-A-L, mentioned in the Bible. The demon god Baal, those 1,000 portals put up by the UNICEF of the United Nations. Are they opening up portals and putting these symbols on these archways, these doorways, to bring in beings from another reality? So it seems. William Shanolobellum, a former witch, Satanist, and Mason, points out that Sirius is the most significant star in Satanism. It is sacred to the god Set. This, of course, is not just one man's opinion either. A witchcraft magazine, Circle Network News, relates, and I made videos on one of William Shanolobellum's books in my series, and he was an ex-witch who joined the Masons, and we're seeing the common denominators between the Masons and the witchcraft organizations, which would be Satanism. Those who practice witchcraft within an Egyptian flavor, or are but of the ceremonial bent, will no doubt join in the celebration of the rising of Sothis, Sirius, the star of Isis, on the 23rd of July, 1984. This night, from Amente, the underworld or hell, that's what it says here, shall Seth, it says the name here, that's who Jane Roberts was channeling in all her books. I've made videos on that, I just said. The god of the underworld, it says it's the god of the underworld, release her and she shall rise, the star of Isis, Sothis, and all her beauty. So it's pretty clear when I keep saying, is we have two competing religions going on in the world, Satanism and Christianity, and one of them is do as thou wilt, and one is not just Christianity. The Satanism is attacking all the world's religions, but the Christianity and the other good religions and peoples are into family values and decency and morality. They, evil forces, say there is no morality, anything goes. There is a battle between good and evil. And some people are choosing evil to be good, and some people are choosing good to be evil. When the truth is good and evil is evil. But what they say in the end times, everything's going to be backwards or upside down. Another occult magazine, Sephora Imaginito, announces the summer solstice coincided with the dog star Sothis rising with the sun, Sirius Sothis being the star of the goddess Isis. Tex Mars, I've made videos on Tex Mars books, an expert on the New Age movement, reports, throughout the centuries, Sirius has been recognized by most occultists and esoteric teachers as the location where Lucifer and his hierarchy dwell. In Christian terminology, Sirius is simply a secretive code word for hell. Stephen Greer's Sirius Disclosure Project is a secret code word for hell, according to this book, if you put those two things together. I bet people don't know that. I didn't know that. It is interesting to note that Venus also became the goddess of the dog star Sirius. The wind is kicking up. Venus, by the way, is another name for Lucifer. Sirius is so important to the occultists that a New Age organization even named their society the Sirius Community, and their newsletter is called Sirius Journal. This group was started by former members of the Finehorn community located in Scotland. And the next section here says Luciferic initiation. Go get this book. I can only read a little bit of it, squeeze it into a 2-hour video. Lucifer prepares men in all ways for the experience of Christhood. Wow. Another former member and co-director of the Finhorde community was David Spangler. Spangler seems to be quite enthralled with Lucifer. He writes, Lucifer prepares men in all the ways for the experience of Christhood, and the Christ prepares man for the experience of God. But the light that reveals to us the presence of Christ, the light that reveals to us the path to the Christ, comes from Lucifer. Did you see that TV programming, Lucifer? He is the light giver. It is his light that heralds for man the dawn of a greater consciousness. And we keep hearing, even from David Wilcock and Corey Good, about the raising your consciousness and the New Age movement with meditation and yoga. Lucifer works within each of us to bring us to wholeness as we move into the New Age. This is from David Spangler. This is what the New Age teachers teach, which is the age of man's wholeness. Each of us in some way is brought to that point, which I term the Lucifer initiation, the particular doorway through which the individual must pass if he is to come fully into the presence of his light and his wholeness. Later in the book he says, Lucifer came to give us the final gift of wholeness. If we accept it, then he is free and we are free. If we accept his gift, he is free and we are free. You ever seen those movies where people sell their souls to the devil? Do you think that's a good idea? Does it ever work out good? Deception is deception. Lies are lies. Lies are not truth, and truth are not lies. But in the end times, apparently that's not supposed to be the case. The truth will be treason. The truth will be punishable. Lies will be forced on people, and you'll have to believe 2 + 2 = 5. You'll have to believe that they're not spraying anything in the sky. No matter what you can video or photograph or see, it doesn't exist. And the Arabs in caves in the Middle East, they planned 9/11. And they even brought down Building 7, which wasn't hit by a plane, which free fell. Which apparently that demolition expert Denny from, I think, Norway, when he was showed the video, he said, yeah, that's demolition, absolutely. And he died a horrific death right after that. You can go look up the video material on that. We can see what we're up against. That it is the Luciferic initiation. It is one that many people now and in the days ahead will be facing. The Luciferic initiation. David Spangler says, it is one that many people now and in the days ahead will be facing, for it is an initiation into the New Age. It's in this book by a scholar with a degree in religious studies, Dr. Cathy Burns, who wrote numerous books. Smarter person than I on these materials to write all these books and spend all that time putting all these facts together by researching many books. What are you going to believe? And if you do believe this material, what are you going to do? Doing nothing is not a choice. Accepting this is not a choice. But apparently in the end times, whenever they pull off whatever catastrophic disaster event that they do, and after the event, everybody will have to swear allegiance to some kind of human called God, like an Antichrist. And those who refuse, off with their heads. Apparently, it's the case. Back to the book, page 55. It should be easy to see that the admiration of Lucifer and Sirius in the New Age movement and Masonry is well established. If you've been watching my videos, you should be convinced of that. Freemasonry, Rosicrucians, Kabbalah, Satanists, Zionists, all these secret society organizations operating out of the UN, the banking system, education system, medical system, economy, stock market, all these are connected. Satanic forces seem to be in control on Earth. And none of us have to accept it, because nobody gets off of Earth alive anyways. You cannot accept it. You can't take the mark of the beast. You can't swear allegiance to this Lucifer deity, this Antichrist. Masonry, by the way, is part of the New Age movement. In August 1992, Scottish Rite Journal, which is the oldest American Messianic publication, is an interesting notation. There is an article bragging that a Masonic section on CompuServe can now be reached. So you can go on CompuServe and look at the Masonic section. So how do you get this information? To access the Messianic section, log on to CompuServe, go to New Age, Section 8, Masonry. In other words, to obtain the information, you must type Go New Age. Wow. It's all about mind control, manifestation, raising your consciousness. The devil's going to save you. That's what they want you to believe. Many other examples can be cited. For instance, for 87 years, the title and the official monthly publication for the Southern Jurisdiction of Masonry's Masonic magazine was the New Age. And I've made several videos on the New Age magazines that I have. You can go watch my videos. Recently, however, they have changed the name to the Scottish Rite Journal. So the New Age, the Bridge to Light. So apparently the light bearer is actually from the underworld. Kind of have it backwards, don't they? And I've showed the New Age magazines by the Freemasons, and it says a bridge to light. So definitely connecting the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, with the Satanists and the Illuminati and the Zionists with all the symbols. Page 56. The former head of the Southern Jurisdiction of Masonry was Henry C. Clausen. In his book, Emergence of the Mystical, he penned, "We look forward toward a transformation into a new age using, however, the insights and wisdom of the ancient mystics." Mystics are magicians also, i.e., seers, prophets, witches, mystics. So they have the ancient teachings of the ancient mystics, the ancient witchcraft organizations, and it says right here that's a transformation into the New Age. Even one Messianic author, Lynn Perkins, writes in a book entitled Masonry in the New Age, he eagerly relates, "What a great day it will be when the youth of the New Age, educated outside of the lodges in the teachings of the cosmic viewpoint, will flock into the lodges of Masonry to receive further instructions, light from a competent teachers in philosophic Masonry. The future of Masonry is indeed bright, with the promise of revival of its true purpose and mission in the New Age setting. Let New Age peace and brotherhood appear on earth as it is in the heavens. So mote it be." So let's just admit it. The New Age is Satanism. Satanism is the new light of the world, according to these teachings. Don't believe this for a second. There's more here. The god of the Eastern Star. Returning to the dog star, we find another name for the star is Mercury. You know, Glenn Beck, the famous radio TV host there, or show, his corporation name is Mercury. So that made me quite suspect with him. He's always saying Mercury Incorporated or whatever. Glenn Beck. In Roman mythology, Mercury was the god of commerce and trade, travel, and the patron of thieves, gamblers, and ambassadors. That's something else interesting in the city I live. Something new is happening. Just came out of nowhere. But apparently they're turning the Civic Center into a casino. And in the big shopping grocery stores, they have a section with all kinds of machines, like a gigantic gas station, like a racetrack, and all these gambling machines. So what are they turning our world into? The Greeks called him Hermes or Silenius because he was born on Mount Cyllene in Arcadia. He was the son of Jupiter, Zeus. Isn't that odd? They don't allow Christian symbols at the United Nations, but they have a big statue of Zeus in front of it. You getting the picture? Christ is out, Zeus is in. Christ is out, Satan is in. Lucifer, all these different names. Seth, Isis, Horus, Moloch, Baal. He was the son of Jupiter, Zeus, and Maya, the daughter of Atlas, Pan, and the god of shepherds, and was the son of Mercury. Apollo gave him a magic wand called the caduceus. Mercury used this to guide the souls of the dead to the lower world. So is there any doubt who we're dealing with? We're dealing with beings from the lower world, not the higher world, heaven. He also could control the living and the dead with it and turn anything into gold. Next page here. In one book on mythology, you will find Mercury seated naked on a rock. A book on witchcraft informs us that Mercury was the inventor of incantations. Stephen Greer's Serious Disclosure Project, going to beaches and parks and doing incantations, and these beings appear. So incantations are vibrations, and symbols are also sort of vibrations and geometric symbols that attract these kinds of beings. I've been going over that. Inventor of Incantations, a book on witchcraft, was wont to be invoked in the rites of magicians. Mercury was also one of the names of the gods invoked in Roman necromancy. Necromancy is sorcery or communication with the dead. Necromancy is sorcery, communication with the dead. Another book mentions that Mercury was the conductor of the dead to Hades, hell. Pike, of course, claims that Mercury is the guardian and guides of souls. So I guess if you die and you're going to hell, Mercury will come guide you to hell. Take the elevator down, not the elevator up. Gotta have some kind of sense of humor when you're reading this. This is not a lot of fun. Conductor of the dead to hell, to be the guardian or guide of your soul. So apparently, if you wind up in hell, that's it. You're there. There's no way to get into heaven. So she says, the author, are you beginning to get the picture of the God that is being portrayed by the Eastern Star, Freemasonry for women? Their God has magical powers. He is the god of the underworld, hell, and the patron of thieves and gamblers. Note also that Mercury's son is Pan. And again, if you have any doubt, Pan is just like Baphomet, the devil, the horned feet, the horns in his head and the hooves on his feet, the tail. The god Pan is a symbol of nature and is usually represented with horns expressive of the sun's rays and the aggressive force of Aries, with the legs covered with hair, denoting the vitality of base forces, earth, shrubs, and the instincts. In astrology, Pan is one aspect of Saturn and is also equated with Satan, with life in its involutude, and in particular its base aspect, the god Pan. Greek god of nature, forests, pastures, flocks, and shepherds. His horns are expressive of the sun's rays, and legs covered with hair denote base forces. Pan is sometimes equated with Satan and lower life instincts, and on the left-hand path. You can go look up the god Pan on Yahoo image site and probably find some interesting pictures and websites. Since Pan is represented with horns, it is no wonder that he is called the horned god by the witches. Pan was the patron saint of sexual pastimes. He often tried to capture women because of his lustfulness. They lived in such fear of him that his name is still associated with fear in the adjective panicky or the noun panic. So think about the people, the elites of this world. Even in the United Nations, the politicians, the Bohemian Grove, where they have a giant statue of Moloch, they throw a baby in a fire called cremation of care. The tunnel opening in Switzerland, where a demon actually dropped from the sky. You can go look this stuff up. And a railroad car went past all the ambassadors and leaders of the world who were in attendance and journalists who were all actually kind of horrified by what they saw. They had these people with the skin-tight clothing. They were almost visualized naked, and they were having a sexual orgy on the train rolling past the visitors who were invited to the grand opening of that tunnel in Switzerland. Strange but true. The god of lust. In the Satanic Bible, Pan is called the Greek god of lust, who was later regulated to devildom. Pan appears conventionally with horns and a hand on a naked nymph. Naked woman? He was Pan, the unhappy lover, Pan, the mischief maker, Pan, the author of sudden sexual forays against girls and boys alike. So if they're into this religion, you know that they are sexual forays into girls and boys alike, and apparently it's running rampant around the world, including the Hollywood types and the politicians. Even Pizzagate during President Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton's presidential election campaigns. All kinds of weird allegations, but you notice that they get hushed under the rug. They don't tell we the people the truth about this stuff because they control the newspapers and the media and everything else. But anybody can go look into it and see Pizzagate. Go look at the videos. Look at what Hillary Clinton was into. And apparently even Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, before he was president, was studying the Kabbalah. Had a Kabbalah teacher. His ex-wife wrote a book on Kabbalah. Now you know. The last statement reveals to us that Pan is an adulterer, a homosexual, and a bisexual. And that's what they're promoting, pansexuality. You can have sex with anybody, anything. A tree, a bridge. One girl married a bridge, I guess. Crazy stuff. In fact, Charles Berger, we are told that practically all of the gods had homosexual love affairs. He continues. Charles Berger, all the gods had homosexual love affairs. Not only were women offered for the use of men, but male prostitutes, sodomites, kaddish, consecrated males were provided for those who wished to satisfy their perverted inclinations in that matter, that the sodomites might be made more effeminate and pleasing. They were sometimes depilated. In Yucatan, the god Chin instituted the sanctification of homosexuality. Tahiti had special divinities for homosexual worship. You get it? You got it? Do you now understand who's doing what in our society? You ready for the new age? Although sex worship was often degenerated into licentiousness, it gradually developed in such a manner that the sex element became less and less conspicuous. After a time, the very knowledge of the connection of sex with religion became a part of the religious mysteries, which was carefully kept from the common people and was revealed only under the most solemn vows of secrecy to persons had previously proven themselves to be worthy of being entrusted with such an important secret. Later, the knowledge was recognized, forgotten, and lost to all except a few scholars who carefully kept it, and from whom we may learn. Oh my. Eastern Star, the blazing star, the star for Satanism, the god Pan, Sirius, Isis, Horus. For the woman's organization, Eastern Star, the Masonic organization for them. And for the Freemasons, and for the Rosicrucians, and for all the other secret societies. We're talking about, plainly speaking, we're talking about Satanism, Luciferianism. We're talking about Moloch, Baal, the demon, the archway opening, all the ceremonies. We're talking about a transformation on planet Earth taking place before our very eyes. And they're getting much more aggressive about it every day, every week, every month. Where will it end? I don't think it'll end too well, personally. People like me will reject it. And then they'll demonize people like me and call us haters. Christians, haters. Look what they're doing to all the Islamic Arabs in the Middle East so they can bring about a greater Israel. They control the banking system, the stock markets, the education system, economic systems, the money system, the banking system, medical, everything. We are in trouble if we don't wake up. If we wake up, we need to talk to God and believe in Jesus and God. And it doesn't matter what they do to us. It's what's important is when you leave planet Earth, where's your soul going? You really want somebody to become in Mercury or somebody, Hermes, to guide you to Hades or hell? Really? I don't think people really understand or would want that. Heaven, obviously, would be a much better place if hell was created for all the fallen angels and people who were perverted and evil and wanted to harm people and selfish. So thank you for watching my video. Rick Miracle reporting.